Alrighty, welcome back. It's time to jump into the design page, the actual page that displays everything. I know we only have one page, but we're going to do XAML code and code behind. We're going to get everything bound up, and then all we have to do is finish everything up and work out any bugs we have, which isn't going to take very long. So let's get to it. Shut down all our controls from the last tutorial and bring up the design page. Now we've designed this with the iPage interface so we can add multiple pages later on. Right now we only have the design page. We need to bring in our model reference. Probably use XBind a little bit more here. I'm just going to stretch everything. Put a grid inside of it. This is just good practice when using a page. And Windows App SDK does push you towards using the pages. Nothing else has the window itself in the Windows App SDK does not have a data context. The page does, because the page is based on a control. And it's just putting more of an idea of the model view architecture. Model view ViewModel architecture. So we're naming our columns because we are going to have to size things ourselves. I originally tried to use a split view on this, but it has a problem right now with resizing. And they're having a problem locating that bug on the GitHub page. A couple people complained about it. I put a verification. They closed the bug, but it was still there, so I put a verification that the bug was still there. But as a result, I ended up coming up with this neat idea where we have a double split view. We have a panel on the left and a panel on the right. The grid control and the control resizing is so much better in Windows App SDK than UWP and WPF that as long as we put our horizontal alignments and our vertical alignments to stretch, resizing our columns resizes the controls under them like they're supposed to. Now we don't get that lucky in WPF, which is kind of sad, but we do get that lucky in Windows App SDK, which is happy. So we will have a toggle button on the left and a toggle button on the right to show everything. And we will actually be doing some code behind here. So when these buttons are checked and unchecked, I'm actually using the same method. If you notice, toggle left checked is used for both checked and unchecked. But I am binding to the view model. I don't have the view model yet in the code behind, so right click, go to view code. I already have it open over here, and we need to add our view model in. Make it internal. One good thing about starting a new project, I can leave everything internal on this one. The last project, I had marked a few things public or private or public, and the internal just those that fit, of course. Internal is pretty much for MVVM. It's global to the project, basically. This will be show tree view. And that's what I like about XBind. It actually gives you the IntelliSense on the property behind everything. And I am going to do a path here. I'm not going to do a path icon because this button will never be disabled. So there's no reason really. The path icons do not like lines for some reason. It's kind of strange because it's a path. But straight lines, it has a tendency of removing or not showing the line. So this is just that standard horizontal lines button. You'll see them you'll see it in about 20 minutes. in the next video. I know we're not doing a lot of testing, but like I said, this is putting everything together, so we're just typing code and bullying our way through the whole thing. So we're going to use our converter here, our bool to visibility converter. And that will mean that the stack panel, if the button is checked, will be visible, and if it's not checked, it will not be visible. I had done this in a WPF project, but of course you have to size every control yourself, and that really makes it annoying. It's just getting lazy, but it really makes it annoying. But I decided to go ahead and try it. It was a happy surprise. It works. I don't have to actually size everything, but we do have to size the content control in the columns. So our new button, and we will use a symbol icon from over in UWP and say add, and then we'll do a delete. And I am not typing all these buttons in again. Where are they? Come on. No, you hear, there they are in the layer control. So we just grab all of our buttons, and we're just going to change our command parameter. They don't get a command parameter the same way. They're going directly. This is at the model view level, so we're just going to get rid of that selected item two-way there. I don't think we need a two-way on the command parameter, but whatever. Same buttons, same command, just different parameter. That, of course, is why we have a parent property on all of our base items. Now we're going to do the tree view. And it's like, yay, the tree view has a selected item. Binding to the view model, selected item, make it two-way. So if you do try to convert this directly over to WPF, access key, no. If you do try to convert this over to WPF, the item template has to be different. You can't use a tree view item. You have to use a hierarchy in WPF, and you cannot bind to the selected item. I think I'm going to put some tutorials out there just on the controls and nothing else. Though I have to have the basic model view, but come on, that's only like 3 to 4 minutes of code. And if you give the tree view item a name, you can search for it with some of the helper classes out there. But we're not going to do that. I still have the tendency to give it a name and make the default view of it expanded. The default value of expanded true. And we're going to bind it to the name. Now, this is where one of the funny places that mode two-way comes in. It's on the text box. The text box cannot change it. But if you do not put mode two-way there and you do change the name of something somewhere else, the tree view will not update unless you put mode two-way on the text block. So for a little while, I think it was in WPF, it might have been UWP also, if you put mode two-way on text blocks, you would get an error saying you cannot set it or something crazy like that. But now they actually allow it because it's the only way to get it to update. So the mode two-way is actually kind of changed. This is our content. This is where our image is going to be drawn. It will have the canvas. We're not going to resize the canvas right now, but we are going to put it in the scroll viewer and make it a default size of 1024 by 1024. That's something for the future. The checkbox above, show handles, is self-explanatory, I believe. A weird thing about the scroll viewer is it doesn't always work unless you put the default values in it. And that, of course, is weird because those are the default values. I don't know if that's still true, but it was at the beginning of the Windows App SDK that you had to put auto, which is the default value for both the scroll bars. You had to put auto in there. So these values should be bound to something in our project, in our model view. Someplace where we actually set the values. They will always be pixels for us. We're not going to do centimeters and inches. We do need to make, if you don't do is hit test visible and you don't do background is equal to a color, you will have problems because when you click, it won't register. And we need it to register. So whenever I removed either one of those, it acted funky. If I remove both of them, it doesn't work at all. I could get the points to move when I removed one of them, but it wasn't constant. So I guess it was the pointer moved event that wasn't firing right. And this is the way we bind our canvas to a group of UI elements. And of course, we're not binding the left and the right, or the left and the top of the items, but we are binding just the items, their shapes for us. And this is why I think I should move to a web view control. Now this will be for the right side. This will be what we have selected. We select a segment, a layer, whatever in the left. On the right side, we'll have another panel that we can close and open that will show the properties of that item. And we'll show the proper control from our little control factory. And anytime I do a button with a path or path icon in it, I like to make the padding equal to 0. Because if you don't, things can get messed up and it'll be offset sometimes, which is weird. There's the same icon as above. And our control, a content control, which will show the correct control from our control factory, from our converter, our old school control factory. Alrighty, now we've got to do our code. We've got to just want to knock this out. So in the next video, we're there. We have our very basic, I fully confess, very basic vector graphics application. But I'll demo the original one, which is actually pretty cool. I actually forget some of the stuff I've done in it though. What would I mean by this button? So right now we have our left and our right set. When the left panel or right panel is open, they're set to 256. That's their expanded size. We can make a property where we actually register those. The sad part is the grid splitter is not built into Windows App SDK, and I said I was not going to require any other libraries. So I hope they bring that in manually, or they bring that in natively. Some of the stuff they left out, UWP that was in WPF, always drove me crazy. You couldn't finish a lot of applications without designing a massive number of controls, which is really starting off all the community stuff, all the community toolkits. Now I like to have these two buttons together. Easier to find, and they have almost the exact same code in them. Need a couple properties for to handle our mouse stuff. Let's just go ahead and call size refresh. Only got 5 minutes left, 6 minutes left. So hang on. Next video, we're tearing into it. So we actually set the pointer to false because we have to loop through everything. Yes, segment, yes. Just likes to mess with me. Very similar to WPF and UWP. It's just a little bit different. Casting our segment to our selected item. So we are always in isolation mode right now. If we don't have something selected in the tree, if we don't have a segment selected in tree view, click all you want, it doesn't do anything. Of course, we also need to add the ability to, that's ABS, isn't it? Yes, it done ABS again. Or ABI, excuse me. I never use that. I've never used that library. Just annoying. Numerics. We make a rectangle of our point, around our point, to check if we clicked close to it. So we made this rectangle twice the size of our ellipse that represents our point. And yeah, we're looping through all of our vertices. We need to do a break, which is another reason we're not doing a for each. But we also need the index. So if another reason we need the is hit results in the background to be a color, in our case transparent, is that when we exit the canvas, we turn off our mouse down. Well, if those two are not set, we automatically exit our canvas, I believe. It's the way it acts. So we're getting our point again of where our mouse is right now. Don't try to, if you're trying to have something follow your cursor, do not try to just simply set it to the current mouse position. Always get the current mouse down and get the difference, the X and Y difference, where the pointer was at and where the pointer is now. And you'll find that it works a lot more smooth. It doesn't always make all that much sense, but I mean, you can go ahead and try it. If you move your mouse too fast and you're trying to follow the cursor, by simply setting it to the current point, you'll find that the mouse, you lose whatever you're dragging around the screen. But if you do it this way, and then automatically set the mouse pressed at to the point that you currently are, then you won't lose whatever you're dragging across your screen when you're working with graphics. I know that drag and drop works a little bit different, but when you're dragging icons and other images or controls across the screen, always get the difference and then do exactly what we're doing right here. So I'm updating, if it's closed, I'm updating the last vertice to be equal to the first vertice. Unless we're dragging the last vertice, then I'm updating the first vertice to be equal to the last vertice. And I don't like that. I wish I wouldn't have done this. It just doesn't look right. It turns out to be annoying. And I tell the view model that you need to refresh. If you got something out of this, like and subscribe. All glory be to God, and I will see you in the next video. We're finishing up.